Okay, ladies and gents, Elena is in focus, as I'm sure she'll bring you into focus. Please welcome to stage, Elena Rodreguez Falcon.
Hello, everyone, and thank you. Thank you for being here. John very eloquently said exactly what I also mean. A few weeks ago, when some people around the university selected us to be here today, I was absolutely overwhelmed. And I think possibly this is one of the best recognitions that one can ever have. Students saying that you are worth to be here and you are inspirational. And I thought at the time, what can I talk about, really? In my mind, I thought, well, maybe I can talk about inspiration, which is something that people seem to think I am, although I don't feel inspirational. I thought I'll talk about inspiration. However, a couple of weeks ago, I was going through a very difficult patch due to personal circumstances, and I was struggling really very much to find any source of inspiration and kind of lost my sense of purpose. And in all true honesty, I was really worried because I couldn't keep going, but also kept thinking, I want to be here, talking to you about inspiration when the least I feel is inspirational. And I was talking to one of my friends, colleague, dear friend, who said to me, Elena, isn't it perhaps more important to talk about how you recover your sense of purpose and inspiration when everything seems to be going really wrong? Actually, I think she was very inspirational herself because it made me remember that it was up to me, really, to look for that source of inspiration. And I think if I had been here talking to you without those 2 weeks in between, I would have been talking to you about the things that have inspired me through my life. And I think that's fair, because that's there. But really, what I want to talk to you about is about the things that happened to me just last week when I sort of found my sense of inspiration again. It would be unfair, though, if I didn't just take a moment and tell you about those moments in time that have provided me with inspiration. Mainly the people who've inspired me. And I think it is important because for what is it to be inspirational if not to be in awe of other people and communicate the passion they communicate to you, which then becomes inspirational to others. But really, we are catalysts. And I think listening to Joan just before and about her passion for her subject, and I'm sure Fabian will be the same, we all have a source of inspiration. Without a doubt, coming from a country like mine, I'm from Mexico, and 25 years ago, going to university in my family was one of the first things that happened. And that wouldn't have happened, really, if my parents hadn't had that determination and the vision to provide that education and that passion for me and that aim high, achieve, make a difference. But through my life, the most important, perhaps, sources of inspiration have been mentors. I became a professor January last year. And if you know a little bit about me, you'll know that I am not a traditional academic. I'm a teacher. And it must have been 2007, when one mentor here at the university, we were talking, and he said to me, Elena, when you become a professor, something else, actually, if you know me, I never stopped talking, but I just went completely quiet because I couldn't believe that he was saying to me in any shape or form that he thought I could be a professor. I didn't respond to what he said. I just kind of went away, shocked, really, and kept thinking, he thinks I can be a professor. How can he actually think I can be a professor? But he planted a seed in me, and I kept thinking, if he thinks I can be a professor, I might be able to be a professor. So that kept me going until 5, 6 years later, I achieved what he planted in me, he inspired me to do that. And there are many other colleagues who, with their work and sense of purpose, have provided that sense of purpose for me. I have to say that my own discipline is absolutely amazing. We all are biased, but it seems to me that engineering is something that will help with every day-to-day problem, but I am biased, so I'll just leave it there. I do want to mention, just briefly, the students. For me, the students are my main source of inspiration, and I'm going to stop there because I'm going to talk about the students later. The final little group that I wanted to mention, that I would have mentioned if I wasn't here talking about what happened last week, is that people that you come across in life, whether they are short relationships, short encounters, or long-lasting friendships, are so inspirational, particularly their dreams, their desires, mainly their problems, their barriers, the things that they struggle with and how they overcome these problems. To me, they are nothing but inspirational. And those things form a little bit about the background of my sources of inspiration. 25 years ago, I started university. I was 17, so do the maths. And one of my classmates had 7 siblings, big Mexican family. And one of her brothers, who was at the time in his early 30s or something like that, had an accident in his early 20s and had been bound to a wheelchair for 10 years, paralyzed from the neck down, and the only thing that he could move was his arm, his left hand. And something that at 17 years of age, you might not believe it, but I had only encountered a few people with disabilities. And in this particular case, very, very severely disabled. But also, I got to know him and got to understand his barriers, but also to see how his family, in a bid to try to help him be more independent, were doing what I can only describe as ad hoc engineering. They were sort of putting together bits and pieces to develop a brace so that he could have a toothbrush, a comb, a paintbrush, and allow him to do things for himself. And to me, Oscar was his name, has been possibly one of the most influential people in my life and in my career. And as a consequence, most of my engineering work surrounds the development and designing of solutions for people with similar barriers. And I wanted to mention Oscar because you'll see in a moment how he has influenced my life. But going back to the fact that about 2 weeks ago, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to be here. I came back. I took a few days off and came back, doctor's orders, by the way. I came back and I was determined to follow Chris's advice and really look for sources of inspiration. I came back to a pile of marking, as you do, which sometimes you might think is not very inspirational. However, going back to Oscar and his influence in my life and my career, for a long time, I've been working with people with disabilities. We've worked with the Sheffield Children's Hospital, St. Luke's Hospice, the Woollywood School, many families in the community. And this year, we are working with a family in Doncaster, and they have 4 children, ranging from 12 to 2 years of age. This young man, Callum, he's the youngest, and Callum was born with a myriad of health problems, ranging from severe intolerances to most kinds of food, so he can't really get nutrition. He has a gastroscopy, a tracheotomy since birth. He can swallow, he can breathe through his nose or his mouth. He's got hypoglycemia, he's got asthma, he's got everything that you can imagine. And you would think that at this time and age, there are solutions that could make a little bit of these things easier. But let me just tell you something that I don't think you will believe, unless you are sort of close related to someone with a tracheotomy. Someone, and it doesn't just include children and grown-ups, can take a bath, a shower, or swim by themselves independently because they can drown or choke, and it can be fatal. So as a consequence, having 4 children and then the little one who, unfortunately, they have to give care around the clock, just washing his hair is impossible because they can drown him. And so they don't know how to do it. They struggle, they take a lot of time. And so we are working with, 100 engineering students are working with this family to see whether we can find a solution to enable them to wash his hair. Sounds simple, but it isn't actually. But I came back and I had this pile of marking, and I sat there and I thought, oh, God. It's going to be difficult. So, sorry about that. And suddenly what I saw were things like watertight seals that never been thought about. And these are initial ideas. These are not solutions. Bear in mind, these are not solutions. I saw the development of new materials potentially to protect the trachea so that is waterproof. New Swedish noses. A Swedish nose is that little thing that Callum has there. Different types of Swedish noses to protect the actual hole from water, and various other things. Now, these are initial ideas, and I saw dozens and dozens of them. The students met Callum 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and they are already solving this problem. I don't know if these solutions are going to work, okay? I know on the 16th of May, we are going to see the final development of these solutions. But what I have seen through the years is children who couldn't walk again because of solutions that our students have developed. People who couldn't talk have a voice again through engineering solutions. People with really poor quality of life, terminally ill, have a better quality of life. And this reminded me that my students in engineering are absolutely brilliant. And they are fabulous, and I can't wait to see their solutions. The only thing that is disappointing, though, is that when you have 100 students, a group sort of this size, you can very clearly see that there are only about 5 or 6 women in the group. And that is a tragedy. And you might think, why this happens? It clearly is not the lecturer. No, it isn't really. The problem is that there aren't enough women doing engineering. And there aren't enough women coming into engineering because they are not doing the maths and physics they need, and because they don't have a proper culture of understanding what engineering is. It's misunderstood in this country. People think that it's fixing washing machines and cars. It's still a very strong culture that to be an engineer, you need to be a man. And the value that one places on engineering is not the same as in other countries. Just to give you an idea, there are about 6% of practicing engineers in this country are women. Compared, and it's the lowest in Europe, compared to 27 in Sweden, I think. I come from Mexico, and in Mexico it's about 30%. It is scandalous, it really is. So what do? Well, you try to change perceptions, you try to reach as many people as you can, parents, children, the teachers, everyone, but really reaching the masses is very difficult. Now, last week, there was a big event from Thursday to Sunday, to Sunday, called the Big Bang Fair. Have you ever heard about the Big Bang Fair? No. This university has never been part of the Big Bang Fair. Technically, we still haven't been, but 15 female engineering students from my faculty decided to take on the challenge, took themselves there, set up a stand, took one of the inventions from students, which is a pedal power smoothie maker. You heard right. You pedal and this blender goes and you can have a smoothie. And they enthuse literally about over 4,000 children, parents, teachers. They were interviewed by BBC Sheffield and by the TV, and they have reached so many people. And these were our students. I'm director of Women in Engineering, and I have been able to enthuse over 4,000 people. And these girls just go out there and they just do it. I can't just stand there and not be inspired by that, seriously. So we're talking Tuesday, and I'm getting my sort of inspiration back, and I'm getting really excited. But if you think about women in engineering, the other thing that you need to think about is why this country seems to have forgotten its roots. If you think about the First and Second World Wars, when all the men went to fight, the women were the ones who stayed here to run the engineering operations, the steel works here in Sheffield. And if you think about those women who pretty much were doing engineering, and who really, if you talk to them, to the remaining few, some of them say, we were absolutely gutted that we were sent back home to wash, clean, look after our children. Kathleen Roberts, one of the remaining women of steel, said to a few people, I wanted to carry on doing engineering, and they sent me back home. And I can't understand why young women are not doing engineering. I just can't. If you think about those few women remaining, one thing that strikes to mind is that we haven't recognized their contributions to this country and how they serve this country, not just this country, but also the world at large. You can see recognitions for miners, for soldiers, princesses, kings, but you don't see the women of steel anywhere. So the city has decided to try, for the last few years, and I hope you've seen my email, that they've been trying to raise £150,000, but they are short of £20,000. This wouldn't be a problem if these remaining few women were not in their 80s, 90s, and 100s and were very fragile. It's not very likely they are going to live to see this recognition, which would be a memorial erected outside the city hall, because they are very, very ill. So I met Kathleen Roberts, and when we came back, we just had an idea, crazy idea. What if we got £2,000 and gave 200 people a tenner each and send them out and ask them to go basking, baking, begging, whatever it is, everything with a B, and come back with £100. Then we would have £20,000. That sounds like a dream, doesn't it? It was a dream, actually. But it's not the kind of thing, the kind of project that you get people engaged with. And just getting through the university, let alone getting 200 people. Anyway, so about 7-8 days later, I had sent an email to various people and said, come on, shall we do something like this? I couldn't believe it. I had the £2,000 from the Faculty of Engineering. I had colleagues from University of Sheffield Enterprise, the Faculty of Engineering, students, all saying, yes, we can do this. They set up a website, they set up an Eventbrite, all sorts of things. There was a poster, everything happened. And really, no one said, no, it can be done, it's unachievable, it's a dream. It was all, yes, how can we do it? How can we register? We are far from having 200 people registered. By the way, I can see about 30 here, so I count on you. But if we manage to do it, it'll be absolutely amazing for these women, for the university, for everyone who gets involved. So I really want to ask you to get involved. But other things that you think about when you think about diversity, in my particular case, is about being international. I'm from Mexico. And I came here 17 years ago. So I'm really concerned. I'm appalled. I think it's atrocious that this immigration bill is including international students as part of the quotas. And I think it is something that we have to do something about. But if you ask me, even though I came here 17 years ago, and I am really concerned that if this had happened 17 years ago, I might not have been here. Not that it would matter, but I have gained a lot. I think there is something that possibly I wouldn't have done anything about, personally, as a person, even though I truly believe that there is something wrong. And yet, our students, and you would have seen this, I hope most of you, took themselves last year to the Houses of Parliament and launched the We Are International campaign. I was there last year, and a report commissioned by the University of Sheffield said that this city on its own gains £140 million net profit from international students. But as Alex Connard, our current international student officer, said this last Wednesday when we were at the Houses of Parliament again with representation from the Houses of Commons and the Houses of Lords and the immigration minister himself, he said the money is one of the things that one should consider. The skills is one thing that we should consider. But of the three things that he talked about, the most important thing really is the relationships and friendships that one builds with each other. Because we all gain from each other. We become stronger, better. Our knowledge, our understanding of the world is so powerful that it spills over, not just within this country, but around. And he was Alex was so eloquent. And he said, law policy makers, you have to take this seriously. And in uncertain terms, he said, if you don't do something about it, we will. But they have. And now, you know, there is this Stand By Me selfie campaign. I stood there, I listened to Alex, and I was absolutely in awe of his speech and how he actually told the immigration minister off for not doing something about it. I want to show you what I'm sure you've seen it, but I will show it to you anyway, because I think it's worth seeing it.
When the night has come.
The Selfie Project is all about showcasing the wonderful international student community that we have here in the UK. We think that friendship transcends things like nationality and where people are from. And by getting people to turn what is usually quite a narcissistic kind of picture-taking thing into something that's about friendship and about fun stories, we think is a really great way of doing that.
I'm Paulson from Hong Kong. This is Ayush from Nepal. We do the same course. We met on a social and we've been best friends since.
So dark,
We met on our course, which is biomedical science, because we're in the same tutorial group. And one thing we love to do together is to go roller disco.
It's very important to have international students, mainly for cultural awareness. It makes us all well-rounded people.
Before coming to university, I didn't really have any friends from other countries, so it's really given me a chance to meet people from other cultures. Like, Alison was the first person from Singapore that I've ever met.
Yay! I'd be sad about if I had to leave Sheffield now and all my friends, because it's just become like my home, and you know, I think I'd miss it a lot.
Yeah, and the people you meet here are your friends for life.
shed a tear, just a slow.
So international students bring a really rich cultural and academic diversity to our campuses. They just wouldn't be the same without them. They provide different ways of learning and different ways of looking at academic problems, and also things like music, culture, and just stories from around the world. They also provide a wonderful economic boost to the UK, bringing in £8 billion a year that would otherwise be lost to other countries. If you care passionately about your international friendships around the world, then you can send us a selfie as well. Include your names, where you're from, and 50 words about what your friendship is and why it's really important to you. Then send it to us, and you can help us to make a difference.
Stand by me, stand by me.
Isn't that amazing? And these are our students. And I'm just going to finish because I realize I've been talking for a long time. This is my own selfie collage of the people who inspire me. Some people, they are not all there. I did have a bad patch. I did lose my sense of purpose, but I did listen to the advice of my friend and went out there to look for my sources of inspiration. I'm not inspirational, but I do feel inspired by everyone who touches my life. And tomorrow we start 24-Hour Inspire, which is a charity that was set up by Tim Richardson, an academic in the Department of Physics. If you've heard of him, 4 years ago, Tim did 24 hours of lectures by himself in aid of children in need, by himself, for 24 hours marathon of lectures, because he really believed in inspiration for life, in lifelong learning. Sadly, Tim was diagnosed with cancer, and last year he passed away. But his colleagues, friends, even people who didn't know him, were inspired by someone who was truly inspirational, truly inspirational. He should be standing here right now. And we decided to honor his memory by doing 24 hours of lectures amongst ourselves. We could not ever beat him, so we worked together, and it starts tomorrow at 5 p.m. and finishes at 5 p.m. on Friday. And it'll be amazing. It will be amazing. Come through the night. If you come through the night, bring your onesies, but do come and support us, please. I think Tim would be absolutely happy to have you all there. And it's all for a good cause. I want to leave you just with one thought. It is easy to lose your sense of purpose. It really is easy to lose your sense of purpose. And it's not wrong either, because it happens. But inspiration is all around us. And it really is up to us to go out there and grab it and feed from it and take it, because otherwise no one is going to do it for ourselves. So thank you, and I hope you go out there and change the world. Thank you very much.